Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when this finds you. Just want to talk a little bit about things that are going on right now because for some reason, a lot of people have selective memories, dementia, amnesia, Alzheimer's, whatever you want to call it. But all it is they're defending their decision, can't admit that they made a mistake because ego won't allow them to do it. Since Biden took office, things continue to progressively get worse. When gas went up to the highest levels in this country ever, many of his supporters said he has no control over gas. Now that the price of gas has dropped slightly, these Democratic brown nosers are saying Biden has gotten oil producers to reduce the cost of gas. So it's like he gave we the people a raise. I mean, can you believe that? You have more outgo going out, and then when it reels back in a little bit, now it's like you gave yourself a raise. No, you didn't give yourself a raise. Biden didn't give you a raise. Has gas dropped back down to the levels, the pre-Biden levels yet? Nope, because what they're giving you now is a new higher normal. And so you think about that. The price of propane gas has skyrocketed. I mean, I don't have any propane canisters, but I've heard a lot of these guys who do use propane talk about how the prices increased. A few weeks ago, we saw that a diesel fuel product has substantially increased. And a lot of these gas stations that sell diesel fuel were out of gas. And I think the additive or whatever it is for the diesel trucks is geared more toward the newer trucks, but it still went up and made things a little tough. And I don't think people realize how serious something like that is because we're not in the same type of country from a century ago that transported everything by rail. If you're going to move things in between cities and states, it has to go by 18 wheeler. So you need to think about that and pay attention. I read not too long ago that in order for you to maintain the same lifestyle you had at this time last year, your income needed to increase by $5,280. Now, $5,280 is per person in your household working. So if you and your mate are working, each one of y'all would need to realize a increase on the job of $5,280. Now, how has the exponential increase in food costs impacted your wallet since Biden took office? How has the cost of energy and natural gas impacted you? I just read a few days ago that 20 million people are behind on their energy bills. Yet, his press secretary, who openly said that she was a black lesbian woman, said that the economy under Biden is the best this country has ever experienced. Now, do you buy that or have you consulted your pocket to see if it agrees with the press secretary? We have more homeless people than ever, yet the press secretary said the economy is doing great. Within the last 2 years or so, 40 food processing plants have been destroyed, mostly by fires that were suspicious to say the least. And in the grand scheme of things, there are thousands of food processing plants in this country, but also in the grand scheme of things, that's 40 plants that's not producing anymore. And a lot of farmers are actually killing off their cattle because the drought is hurting them. They don't have water for the cows to drink. And then without the water, there's nothing to basically feed the grass and crops that the cattle are using for food. And so it's hurting. It's hurting these farmers. So if it's hurting the farmers, guess who it's hurting? It's hurting we the people. And the reason the farmers are hurting with the cattle is they can't sell a lot of them because the cattle are grossly underweight. But the economy is booming. Biden has the Inflation Reduction Act, and you need to study that for yourself to see who's going to really be impacted in a negative way. He just hired 87,000 new IRS agents, but there are only 726 billionaires in this country. So who are the 87,000 people going to audit? These same 87,000 people are going to be armed, with weapons. And Biden said the reason they're going to be armed with weapons is because of those of y'all that might have a problem with it. Those of y'all who try to resist or give them problems when they come to your house. Hey, don't listen to me. Look it up for yourself. Now, if you really want to know who they're going to be targeting, his administration actually said they are expecting 80% of their new revenue to come from small businesses making under $200,000 a year. All of these Fortune 500 companies out there, but he decides to target the small business owner. You don't own a business, you say? Well, the Inflation Reduction Act is going to catch you. Here it is. I don't remember what state it was in, what city it was in, but a constable was recently killed along with 4 other people when she went to serve an eviction notice. People are losing jobs left and right since this manufactured Charlie Victor 19 came on the scene. 50% of firms are anticipating a reduction in overall employees within the next 6 to 12 months. 52%, are saying that they're going to put a hiring freeze in place. And 44%, I believe, said they were going to rescind job offers that they had already offered. And that's according to a recent survey, just a couple of weeks ago. Now, Ford Motor Company said this past Monday they're going to be laying off about 3,000 of their employees, white collar and contractors. And in the process, Biden issued a tax credit in one of these bills if you buy an electric vehicle. Directed at Ford and some other companies. I don't remember which other companies off the top of my head. And as soon as he did that, Ford immediately increased the cost of their electric vehicles by guess how much? $7,500. So the tax credit was $7,500, and so Ford increased the price of their vehicle $7,500. See, this is what happens when you have guys who never owned a business in charge of things. They always make it harder for a business owner to do business by lying to the people that they want to manipulate. This dude has been in office for 50 years, and the only thing he has to show are several crime bills. He authored a crime bill in 1984. He authored a crime bill in 1986. He authored a crime bill in 1988. And finally, the only one that ever gets talked about is the 1994 crime bill. Now, guess who each one of those bills were actually targeting? Black folks. If you said Negroes, you win. Yet Negroes went out to vote for him because he had a D next to his name, and he was Barack Obama's vice president. And then he wasn't Trump. Now, I'm going to say this again, and maybe the students at the back of the class will hit me this time. Everything you thought Trump was, Biden is. Can you name me one thing that has improved, gotten better, or just even remained the same since Biden took office? Just give me one. Please, just one. In March of this year, he passed the Digital Currency Act. Now, if you don't know about this, you better jump on it quickly. Now, if you go read it, you're going to see that it says on December 13th of this year, unless something changes, we're going to a digital currency similar to the social credit system in China. Now, isn't it amazing that this is taking place after the midterm election and gas prices are slowly dropping, heading up to the midterm election? All the while, Americans are struggling to put food on their tables and struggling to make ends meet. And Biden, the Senate, and Congress keep approving millions and billions of dollars to go to the Ukraine. As if the U.S. hasn't sent enough money over there already, they're getting ready to send another $3 billion to train Ukrainian forces. And this dude actually said inflation is at zero. Now, if you haven't paid attention to the prices at your grocery store, I mean, your packages might be the same size, but they decrease the amount of product in the packages. So the mere fact that you're still buying the same size package with less product means that's inflation. A pot roast that used to be around $12 now costs more than $20. Now that depends on where you live. And also depending on where you live, rent has increased anywhere from 5%. Some places said 25%, some places said 70%. I read the other day that a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan is averaging around $5,100 a month. $5,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. I mean, does it make sense to even live in a place that costs that much? Do you know what kind of house you can get if you decide to move somewhere and pay that for it? You could be in a mansion. Did you realize $5,000 a month? You paying over $60,000 a month just in rent. But you know, one of the typical things they do when the Democrats in office is phrase things differently. You know, kind of like saying a car is pre-owned instead of saying it's used. So instead of saying we have a homeless situation and it's real bad right now, they say that tent cities, TENT, are popping up all over the countries. Now, if things were tight before, how do you plan to keep up with the increase of everything? Credit card debt went from $846 billion to around $887 billion between the first and second quarter this year. And the other day they were saying in the month of August that same credit card debt was $930 billion. That means things are getting worse just to survive. People not using credit cards to take trips. The airline industry is hurting. The cruise industry is hurting. But they tell you that the economy is booming. It's doing great. It's the best economy ever. People are using their credit cards just for survival now. They're not using credit cards to take vacations. I mean, you got some out there at all, and if you're doing that, hey, all fine and dandy. But if you're doing that, but you're not paying attention to everything else that's going on, you got a problem. And I remember that show on National Geographic, I think a few years ago, Doomsday Preppers. And I used to sit here and say, man, these folk crazy. And now I'm looking at everything and say, man, these folks might knew what they were doing. But they did that to make people, just like you and I, think that. See, they were making fun and they were mocking, now that I see things differently, they were mocking the Doomsday Preppers, but you never hear about all of these billionaires building these secret bunkers. Survival bunkers is what they call them. And so they make fun of the everyday people such as us, but they don't tell you what these wealthy people are doing, that they're doing the same thing. They're building entire cities. I mean, I've seen some videos on YouTube where these guys talking about how much these bunkers are costing their building for these people. And I'm like, man, them doomsday preppers might have been on to something. And so now I'm upset with myself. And so that's just something to think about it. Something to think about, I mean. So 930 billion in credit card debt for Americans. If you were living paycheck to paycheck before now, how do you plan on surviving this onslaught? If you voted for Biden, how do you face yourself in the mirror every day knowing you voted for this because you only thought with your emotions in 2020. I mean, I know how. You blame Trump. You still blame Trump. You hoping they find something on Trump. You focused on Trump because the media tell you focus on Trump. So you don't even realize the January 6th situation had nothing to do with Trump, but they telling you that. But I'm not going to even get into all the information I have on that. I mean, it's not even important because you're going to believe what you want to believe anyway. And see, the way they keep Biden voters distracted, which apparently ain't too hard to do, is bring up Trump. They went after him for the January 6th incident, like I just mentioned. Nothing came of it. So they went and raided his place down at what's it called? Mar-a-Lago. However you said, I don't. However you said, y'all know what I'm talking about. And more than likely, they're not through messing with him. Now, let me say this one more again. I have an aunt. That's what she say. One more again. And she had another phrase. She said, "Did not tell you." And when a Democrat is in office, he never faces blame for nothing. When a Republican is in office, he gets blamed for everything, even domestic disputes. Or if you wore the wrong shoes to work, he get blamed for that. Hey, to me, the whole system is corrupt. But what you need to know, that's the way the system was built. Stop defending your wrong positions. Man up, woman up, and admit you made a mistake. Hey, we're all human, but only those who have character and integrity can and will admit when they are wrong. Have a good one.